Hi guys, today I want to talk about my favorite authors and just in general a little discussion on just, favorite authors and what makes favorite authors. This video was inspired by Wiebke from One Book, One Review. She did a video on her favorite authors recently and also a little discussion. And I just really liked the way it was done. Not only like listing her favorite authors, but just talking about what makes a favorite author. And I really enjoyed that. And I just realized while watching that I actually never made a video about my favorite authors. I made a video about my go-to authors. I made a video about authors I want more books from, but I never actually talked about who my favorite authors are. And there's a very easy reason for that. I only really consider one person my favorite author at the moment. There's a few that I considered favorite authors, like a few years ago, because I just hadn't read that many books, and I just kind of read books by the same authors because I just kind of knew what, I liked and that I liked these books by these authors. Since joining BookTube, that has changed because I just get introduced to so many new books basically every day that I just don't go by authors anymore. There was a time when, I picked up Cecilia Ahern books. I really enjoyed them, and so I picked up every single one of her books because I just kept on really, really enjoying them. So why shouldn't I pick up more of her books? But now I just kind of forgot about her. Like, I'm trying to keep up, but honestly, I just find so many new books that I honestly don't even feel that interested in her books anymore, because I feel like now there's books out there that I feel like fit what I want to read more. I just really want my favorite author to write different genres. I want to read books from different worlds. I do not consider Cassandra Clare a favorite author because the only things I've read by her were in her Shadowhunter world, and I just kind of can't say she's my favorite author because I just read this one thing by her. It's 10 books, almost every single one I enjoyed so much, but I just can't consider her my favorite author because I don't really know if I would still like her if she wrote in a different world or if it's just for the world and for the characters. Then again, Christine Cashore is someone that I really just want to consider my favorite author, but she has only written 3 books in the complete same world, so I feel like I should apply the same rules to her as I do to Cassandra Clare, especially since I've read a lot less books by Christine Cashore. But Christine Cashore is someone that I have more faith in. I have kind of a different feeling about the way she writes and how she creates a world. So that's kind of really interesting. There is a lot of personal stuff going on there as well. I feel like with some of the controversy and kind of scandals around Cassandra Clare, and just overall, I feel like while some of her books are just really great, and as I said, I love them all, some of them are really fucking trashy, which does not lower my enjoyment for them, but also makes me consider her to be just not as good as a writer as, for example, Christine Cashore is for me personally. Now that I said a few things about what makes my favorite authors, I do want to, of course, go into detail about Victoria Schwab and why she is my favorite author. It's really interesting, as I said with Cassandra Clare, on the kind of personal thing. Obviously, she's my favorite author because I love all of her books, but she's also one of my favorite people in general. Her Twitter, her Tumblr, her blog posts, they are so inspiring to me. She just generally seems like such a nice person. I just really admire this whole person, not just as an author, but just really as a person in general. And that is just something that I feel like is really, really important. And as I said, Victoria Schwab just kind of does what I, just said. She writes in different kind of worlds, and I've enjoyed every single one of those. I read The Archive and The Unbound. These were the first books I read by her and was my favorite series, or just in general books of 2014, I want to say. That kind of introduced me to her and immediately made me fall in love with her writing and her world building and her characters. Then I read Vicious, which I loved just as much, which was my number 2 of my favorites of 2014. That kind of just made me realize, holy shit, this is definitely one of my favorite authors, because I've read these 2 completely different books by her and I loved both of them, and I just kind of knew, even though I had only read 3 books, this is a favorite author that I want to read every single book by. It took me some time to get to The Near Witch, which I definitely did not enjoy as much as her other books. I think you can tell that it is her debut novel, which that's so cool, honestly. I feel like it's so great to read The Near Witch and see how far she has come, but also see how her style has kind of always been there. And you can kind of still tell this is a Victoria Schwab book. It's just a really young book. And I still enjoyed the basic idea and the world building. I just thought the writing was overall not as good. And then obviously came A Darker Shade of Magic, which I feel like was the thing where I knew Victoria Schwab would forever be one of my favorite authors. I just really feel like whatever happens, even if there comes a book now that I only give 1 star because I just really didn't like it and found it really boring, I couldn't really connect with the concept or the characters or the world, she would remain my favorite author, and that's just such an amazing feeling to me. Then obviously we had A Gathering of Shadows, which I feel like is probably my favorite of her books. I think it's just really good because the world was introduced in such detail in the first book that in the second book we really had time to kind of go into the characters and the story, but also we already knew the characters, so we could only just go deeper into the story, into the magic. For me, Gathering of Shadows is an absolutely perfect book. I do not see a single flaw in that book. Obviously I do understand there's people out there who don't like it, but for me personally there's not a single flaw in this. And this Savage Song I loved as well, such a unique concept, and I just remember that moment so vividly when I finished this Savage Song and I realized there was another Victoria Schwab book in a completely new world that I absolutely love, and I had a little cry. So I'm an emotional person, so honestly this might sound a lot more weird to you than it does to me because it's just kind of a natural reaction. So it's not like super weird, but it's still kind of weird to finish a book and just be so emotional about loving it. There wasn't anything in the story that was emotional. It was just my feeling of shit, I finished another of her books and I loved it just as much as the other ones. That overwhelmed me so much in that moment that I just kind of felt like I had to have a little cry. So I had a little cry. I really didn't meant to go into as much detail as I did on Victoria Schwab, but as I said, she's kind of the only one I would really consider my favorite author. I do have one author that I only read 1 book by because they have only published 1 fictional work so far, that I do feel like is on a good path to becoming one of my favorite authors, and that is Carrie Hope Fletcher. I just feel like that I can understand her stories and her way of writing really well. I just love the way On the Other Side was written overall and the ideas and kind of the concept, and I feel like what she created in this one showed me that she can create so many other things that I will love as well. I think Virginia Baker is definitely a good direction, depends on which genre she would go into. Just as Brianna Schramm is, I feel like she has a lot of potential to write books that I would love as well. I feel like she is in general kind of similar to Victoria Schwab. There's definitely a lot of authors that have potential to be my favorite authors, and I would just love to kind of make this list a little bit longer, but for now I'm just happy that I found this one author that I really love so much, and it does help with people asking me who my favorite author is. I don't have to say like there's so many I can't decide. I have Victoria Schwab and that's the easy answer. So yeah, this was kind of the discussion on favorite authors in general and just my favorite author. It will be really, really interesting to just look back at this video, so that's what I'm already looking forward to. Definitely let me know some of your favorite authors and you know why you love them, or just discuss with me what makes a favorite author. I just really find it interesting. I feel like it's definitely something that's different for everyone, and obviously everyone can choose their favorite author how they want to choose them. So, you know, discuss with me, and thank you so much for watching. I guess I'll see you soon. Bye! It's getting too much, Victoria. It's too much, okay? Can't hold these books anymore. There's 2 more books by Victoria Schwab next year. 2 more!